the practice that I made was different. And when I came, I wanted evidence that the usual accounting procedure was followed, despite the fact that it was an electronic transaction. So we had at each stage, the accountant will confirm, the auditor will confirm, the initiating officer, the tax team chairman will also confirm this is okay. But the monies where they were was as I made them. So no new accounts were opened. So in terms of control, let me also say this, ordinarily is the permanent secretary who should sign off on all of these things. But I met a system where there was, whether a perception or indeed the truth, that everybody that had anything to do with pension was compromised. Anybody at all, whether it was PAMSEC or the accountant, anybody that had anything to do with pension was compromised. And the chairman of the task team advised that, look, you are new here. All these regular people who are on the mandate in the banks had already been invited to EFCC because they had issues. I looked at it, I saw it so. So I think in terms of management, to also forestall any further perpetration, the signatories were changed to the office, also officers within the head of service. But these are new officers, not any of those that had been invited previously to EFCC. So in terms of control, we did the best we could to stop anything that was corruption in that office.
Sorry, Mr. Fola, I want to ask a critical question. Does the chairman of the task force make any direct payment to anybody?
It depends on what we mean, and I will explain to you. This was an electronic arrangement. So for payment of monthly pension electronically, I will say also, if we say electronically, yes, because he's the initiating officer, he also is the one to assure that this happens. But when you compare it with conventional, this is why I'm trying to find a way to explain this issue. Compared to the conventional, the answer will be no. But when you compare to electronic, the answer will be yes.
I still have a further question. In the current pension fund arrangement now, we have a pension fund custodian, different from pension fund administrator. Now, who was the pension fund custodian? Who is the custodian in your arrangement? Okay,
thank you. Normally, the head of service, by the arrangement, has a DFA, Director of Finance and Accounts. Is the one who receives all of these AIEs, and he ensures that all the accounts are also maintained and balanced. So I will say he is the custodian.
Then, am I right to say that he only releases sums that are approved and the remnant is left with him?
That is the correct situation.
Then who has responsibility to backload the money if not spent? Who has that responsibility?
Of the accounting officers.
That's the same person you are talking about now.
Well, when it comes to taking back money,
yes.
Again, let me explain for sake of the public. When AIs are released, expenditures are incurred at the end of the year, usually by practice. Any money not spent will be mobbed up, and this is usually done at the level of the Director of Finance and Accounts and Office of the Accountant General.
Then, sorry, as head of service, you are the chief custodian of the Federal Civil Service rules and regulations. To the best of your knowledge, is there any difference in the way pension funds should be managed different from personal emolument funds?
My opinion is it should be different. Well, by convention, again, let me also say to you, nobody goes to school of head of service before he gets there. It's when you find yourself there, you start looking at practice and guided by laws and regulations. Many of these things, yes, this is what I'm saying to you. By convention and practice that I met, civil service pension fund was never returned. And you can look at practice from whenever they started doing this. So that's one. Two is, as also head of service, within the boundaries of the rule, you use common sense. One of these is, if there is request to pay pensioners and the money is not there, what do you do? Within the boundaries of practice and convention, I think it is right to leave the money there without returning.
But every year there is a budget, and every year money is budgeted for the payment of pensions. And we have seen from investigation here that even when money was stacked on return to the federal coffers, additional money was requested for settlement of the claims that have arisen newly. How do you explain that?
Well, again, in a general sense is the way I can explain, but when you come to specific, I did not present any budget. During my time, it was very short. But in a general sense, and again, what makes sense to me is that pension matter is quite peculiar. These are people who all the time must be serviced. The budget, when it comes, is again, when you look at the nature of the budgeting process for pension, you see that it's fairly liberal. It's not like in other situations that you say, I want to buy one pin, this is money for one pin.
And the spending tool is liberal. So the spending tool is liberal.
Well, that we are finding out now, but the truth is that the rules were supposed to be followed. And according to the documents, anyone that came before me that I saw, the rules were followed.
Well, the co-chairman of the joint committee, Alhaji Kabir Gaya, has just arrived. He will take over as the chairman of the committee, while we then call on the parent secretary to continue answering the questions that are already asked of him. Okay, go ahead.
Distinguished senators, the problem we are having now, it's because of the tax team that was formed. I tell you that in 2010, when the tax team was formed, those accountants who were still there, since they had been signatories to the account, the tax team will prepare everything, just bring ordinary mandate to them to sign. And when they sign, they don't have any choice to refuse. And when they sign, that's why they are telling you that it's the accountants that signs.
Sorry.
So I have a document. I want to present something.
No, you say they don't have any option but to sign. Were they under at gunpoint?
Sir, I'm sorry, sir.
Or under Durex?
I'm sorry, sir. But you see, the lady I took over from, here she made a memo to the office complaining that she does not have the records of what has been happening, and that the cash book, the number of accounts, here is it.
Can you quickly read the memo? Let us see how you read the memo.
State of pension accounts operation, that is permanent secretary Ero through the director of pension. Status of pension accounts operations. Sequel to the meeting with the director of pension and my subsequent meeting with the sectional heads in the accounts division, we discussed and reviewed the activities of the division. Basically, the inability to have access to vital information and financial records was identified as major challenges mitigating the effective carrying out of our statutory duties. Such records are the number of bank accounts maintained in the department, the flow of funds through transfers into the accounts, monthly pension payments, bank statements. The inability to have access to the above information and records have hindered us in maintaining proper and adequate financial accounting record, viz. cash book. Consequently, we have not been able to render the transcripts of accounts, bank reconciliation statement, and other returns prescribed in the Financial Regulation 112 sub C since June 2010.